Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Devi Ariani, and today I will present my topic entitled Beginning and Ending the Speech. This presentation is part of the course Academic Speaking for Scientific Purposes in the Master's Degree in English Education at Indra Prasta PGRI University. In this presentation, I will discuss how speakers can create effective introductions and conclusions in public speaking based on Chapter 10 from Stephen E. Lucas' book, The Art of Public Speaking. Here is the outline of my presentation. First, I will explain what an introduction in a speech is. Then I will discuss several ways a speaker can attract the audience attention. After that, I will explain how speakers reveal their topic, establish credibility, and preview the body of the speech. Finally, I will discuss the conclusion of a speech, including how to signal the ending and how to reinforce the main message. Let's begin with the introduction. The introduction is the opening part of a speech, and it is very important because first impressions matter. According to Lucas, a good speech introduction has four main objectives. First, it should get the audience attention and interest. Second, it should reveal the topic clearly. Third, it should establish the speaker's credibility and goodwill. And fourth, it should preview the body of the speech so the audience knows what to expect. A strong introduction helps the audience feel engaged and helps the speaker feel more confident. One of the most important functions of an introduction is gaining the audience attention. Lucas mentioned several effective methods. First, the speaker can relate the topic to the audience so listeners feel personally connected. Second, the speaker can state the importance of the topic, explaining why it matters. Third, the speaker may startle the audience with surprising facts or statements. Fourth, the speaker can arouse curiosity, making listeners want to know more. Fifth, asking rhetorical questions can encourage the audience to think. Sixth, the speaker may begin with a quotation. Seventh, telling a story can create emotional engagement. And finally, using visual aids can make the opening more memorable and impactful. After gaining attention, the speaker must clearly reveal the topic. This is very important because if the audience does not understand the topic, they may become confused. The speaker should state the topic directly and connect it smoothly with the opening. In other words, the introduction should not only be interesting, but also clear and focused. Another important objective is establishing credibility. Credibility means the audience believes that the speaker is qualified to talk about the topic. There are three key elements here. First is character, which means the audience sees the speaker as trustworthy. Second is competent, meaning the speaker has enough knowledge or experience. Third is goodwill, which means the audience feels that the speaker has their best interests in mind. When credibility is established, the audience is more likely to listen and trust the message. The last part of the introduction is called the preview statements. A preview statement tells the audience the main points that will be discussed in the speech. This helps listeners understand what to listen for and makes the speech easier to follow. It also creates a smooth transitions from the introduction to the main body of the speech, For example, a speaker might say, "Today I will discuss three main points. First, blah blah blah, second, blah blah blah, and finally, blah blah blah." And then here are some useful tips for creating a strong introduction. First, keep it brief. The introduction should be only about 10 to 20% of the total speech. Second, be creative. Choose one opening that is interesting and memorable. Third, wait for the audience attention before starting. Make eye contact, smile, begin confidently. A good beginning can greatly improve the overall impact of the speech. Now, let's move to the conclusion. The conclusion is the ending part of a speech. According to Lucas, the conclusion has two main functions. First, it should signal the end of the speech. Second, it should reinforce the central idea or the main message. A strong conclusion helps the audience remember what is most important. A speaker should let the audience know that the speech is ending. This can be done through clear phrases, such as "in conclusions," "to sum up," "let me end by saying." Another way is through delivery style, such as slowing down, using pauses, or changing focal tone. Lucas also explains two special ending style. The first is crescendo ending, where the speech builds to a powerful climax. The second is dissolve ending, where the speech gradually becomes softer and more emotional. Both techniques can create a strong final impression. To reinforce the central idea, speakers can use several techniques. First, they can summarize the speech, briefly repeating the main points. Second, they can end with a quotation that supports the message. Third, they can make a dramatic statement that leaves an emotional impact. Fourth, they can refer back to the introduction, which creates unity and makes the speech feel complete. These techniques help the audience remember the message long after the speech ends. Finally, here are some tips for creating an effective conclusion. First, and with impact. Your final word should be memorable. Second, keep it short. The conclusion should only be about 5 to 10% of the speech. Third, practice carefully. Your ending should sound polished, confident, and natural. As Lucas reminds us, the conclusion is your last chance to influence your audience. Okay, thank you for listening. Bye bye.